At 2:17 a.m., air traffic controllers noticed something that shouldn't have been possible. No transponder signal, no aircraft identification, no emergency beacon, just movement. Slow, deliberate, and impossibly large. Within seconds, radar screens across the region began to desynchronize. Altitude readings conflicted. Speed values fluctuated without pattern. For the first time in modern aviation history, the sky stopped making sense, not because of chaos, but because of presence. The initial assumption was simple: a system malfunction, a corrupted radar feed, a calibration error caused by atmospheric interference. Engineers rebooted systems. Controllers switched to backup frequencies. Entire networks were reset. Nothing changed. Because weather systems don't maintain fixed altitude, they don't adjust course against jet streams, and they don't trigger collision avoidance warnings in commercial aircraft. Within minutes, pilots began reporting visual contact. Not a storm, not debris. Something moving above cloud level, casting a shadow where none should exist. A shadow that moved against the wind. Something solid. Military and civilian data was cross-referenced. Flight paths were cleared in widening circles. Emergency protocols were activated quietly, without public alert. Radar shadows were isolated. Wing movement was tracked. Thermal signatures were compared across platforms, and after reviewing the biological profile, analysts reached a conclusion they were not prepared to accept. The entity matched only one known classification: Mega Dragonite. Not a machine, not a weapon, a living organism, something that did not request access to airspace because it had never needed permission. To understand why this event terrified experts, you have to understand scale. Based on radar projection and eyewitness footage, the creature's wingspan exceeded that of a wide-body passenger jet.
Its estimated mass alone should have made sustained flight impossible. For a biological organism to remain airborne at this size, its muscle fibers would require a density beyond any known animal. Its skeletal structure would need reinforcement comparable to aerospace alloys, without sacrificing flexibility. And its energy output would rival industrial turbines, generated internally. Thermal imaging showed consistent internal heat generation, suggesting a biological energy core rather than chemical metabolism. This wasn't flight based on lift. This was flight achieved through overwhelming power. Its anatomy didn't suggest coexistence with human aviation. It suggested dominance of open skies, long before aircraft ever existed. The situation escalated when automated avoidance systems began to fail. Commercial aircraft were instructed to land immediately. Some complied, others stopped responding mid-descent. Radar interference spread outward in a widening radius. Communication towers experienced signal distortion. Navigation satellites registered unexplained magnetic fluctuation. Pilots reported sudden turbulence in clear air. Instrumentation drifted. Altitude warnings triggered without cause. Civil aviation authorities issued a silent shutdown order. No press release, no explanation. The sky was declared unsafe, not because of weather, not because of war, but because something else had claimed it. Within minutes, airports across multiple regions closed. International flights were rerouted mid-air. Medical evacuation helicopters were grounded. Cargo corridors collapsed. Emergency services prepared for impact scenarios that never came, and that uncertainty was worse than panic. Pilots were trained for engine failure, for storms, for mechanical loss, not for a living presence that ignored airspace boundaries.
Passengers waited inside sealed cabins with no explanation. Families tracked flights that stopped moving on screens.
Airspace maps went dark. It was a reminder that human control of the sky exists only by permission, not ownership. If you're still watching, you understand something important. This wasn't an accident. It was adaptation. And if you want to understand what happens after control is lost, what happens when something else decides the rules, then stay with this series, because this was only the first event. So the question isn't whether Mega Dragonite is hostile. No attacks were recorded. No direct aggression observed. The question is deeper. Do we protect a species whose existence reshapes civilization overnight? Or do we attempt containment, knowing that failure could cost millions of lives? Is intervention survival, or fear disguised as necessity? At what point does preservation become negligence? And who gets to decide? At 4:03 a.m., radar contact faded. Officials described the incident as resolved. Airspace was slowly reopened. Flights resumed. Schedules normalized. But pilots still report unexplained turbulence in clear skies. Sensors continue to register intermittent interference at high altitude. The sky looks empty again. That doesn't mean it is. Because whatever adapted once, learned once, claimed the sky once, can adapt again. And next time, we may not get permission.